Hey girl, how you doing? How you feeling today? Oh, girl, has it been some time since we've seen each other? I am feeling very stimulated. I'm feeling very charged up. And really, I just wanted to come and journal about everything that I'm very much so manifesting, praying for, wishing for, and hoping for in this next phase of my life. And so I made a list, and the first thing is that I really want to rewrite my inner programming. I want to set new default settings for myself. I want my body and my mind to just automatically respond differently to where I no longer understand or even comprehend what smallness means, what inferiority is, what silence is, what ugliness is, what struggle is, what negativity is. I want to get to a place with that without even having to think about it. I know that I can reduce, overcome, and transcend all of that. I really want to have a better and new way of existence to be embedded in my central nervous system, and that it just permeates throughout my entire body to where I literally don't even have to think about it. That to know that when I acknowledge and I honor the divine power within me, my life is instantly transformed. That I just know that I am the divine archetype. I am the predecessor of light. I was beauty before they even knew what the word meant. I was made from the heat of the galaxy. The body is blessed, born celestial, beautiful in dark matter, that a river of milk and honey runs through me, that an abundance of goodness is inside me. That's the first thing that I want in this new phase of my life, where those things are just automatic in me. That there are no longer things that I even have to be conscious about, that it's just like so deep rooted and embedded in my mind, my heart, and my soul, that in an instant I can spit it out and I just know. So that's the first thing that I really want for my life, for this new phase of my life. The second thing is I've been really reading a lot, and I've been really getting into the different teachings and things about the Yoruba religion and about the Orishas pantheon and things like that. And it's just been really interesting to learn about the different Orishas and things like that. And one of the things that I've really been getting is about being an embodiment of fresh water. And for me, it's literally being the same, let it flow. And so for me, that's about not being so tight-fisted about everything, and just being like fresh water, and just whatever comes, and when it's time to go, let it go. And also freeing myself from expectations about what I think my life will or won't be. Also freeing myself from definitions, timelines, standards, patriarchy, misogyny, like literally unplugging all those things and just letting it flow. And there's a quote that's really been speaking to my heart lately, which it says, "Lose yourself to improve yourself. Only when we shed all self-definition do we find who we truly are." And from this book that I've been reading, the author, she said something that was really cool when she said that I am letting go of who I am no longer to make room for the person that I am now. And I feel like that's what I want for myself. That's what I'm manifesting for myself for this new phase of my life, is letting go of everything that Andrea is no longer to make space for the person she's supposed to be. And it's like basically, I want to come back home to myself. I want to really understand who Andrea is in her most authentic self. That who Andrea is without limit, without expectation, without the burden of timeline and feeling like you have to be something, but just really being authentic, my authentic self. So that's the second thing. The third thing that I've been really realizing is life is going to be a lot. Like, I was really talking to my mom yesterday about how I've enjoyed so much being able to spend this time with her, because I've actually been able to see, without being thrust in it, what being a real adult is and having real adult responsibilities. And I must say that it is just a lot. But another mindset that I really want to have in my next phase of life is understanding what makes a difference and just what doesn't. And I feel like that's going to be very important to me, because if things don't make a difference, my time, energy, and effort don't need to be put towards them. And this is this other book that I'm really interested in getting into called The Big Leap. And I haven't really started really reading it yet, but I've definitely listened to excerpts and people's commentary on the book. And one of the things that he talks about in the book is talking about your upper limit problems. And I was kind of like reading and trying to like understand what people were like saying about that. And I was really thinking and having a time of reflection with myself. And I was like, what is my upper limit problem? And I had to really come to terms with myself that I think that my upper limit problem is that I am sometimes really afraid to know who Andrea is at her highest self. Because I feel like in order to know her and be her, that everything around me is going to change. And like most people, I am very much so drawn to what's familiar to me and what's comfortable to me. It's like, I know this version of myself. I don't know that version of myself. And I don't know what that version of myself is going to bring. And sometimes I feel like I am so afraid of meeting her that I don't even like think really hard about it. I don't even acknowledge that there's a better self out there for me. And I feel like that's my issue. But this is another quote that I felt was really helpful to me and has really started to reframe my perspective on my upper limit problem, I guess. And so here's the quote. It says, "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid." And so that quote basically was, to me, what I just said about what makes a difference and then what doesn't. Your fear doesn't really make a difference if what's more important to you is to be on a constant pursuit in a service to the vision that I have for my life. And the whole thing about being afraid that my life is going to change and people around me are going to change is also like, okay, so what? Like, if it changed, first of all, you should be thankful that your life is changing, that things are becoming uncomfortable to you, because it's like, that's how you know that there's always a forward movement, that you're always going forward. It's like, Andrea, if your life was the same way it was at 20 as it is now at 24, there'd be a problem. And when you turn 30, God willing, you shouldn't be like, I'm still operating like I'm 24, because you always want to be on an upward motion. And the thing is, it's like, being afraid doesn't make a difference. People changing in your life doesn't make a difference. Your life becoming better, like, if it's all in their pursuit and in a service to the vision you have for your life, then it's good. And that's also something that I really want to cover myself with and embed in my central nervous system and in my heart, that there are no limits. There are no boundaries. A ceiling or a ground don't exist. That all I need to do is stretch forth. I need to break forth and release myself. That I can enlarge my territory, that I only see increase. Like, that's really what I want for myself in this next phase of my life. That I just don't want to see boundaries or limits. I don't want to see any of that. That only thing I see or I acknowledge and the thing that I really honor is my divine feminine, that I was birthed royal, regal, and that I should never disrespect that power within me, that it is a constant acknowledgement and an understanding of the power and the divine energy that resides in me. And so all of that to be said, it's a really interesting thing because from our book club in July, it's August now, our next exercise was, after you've really taken the time to think about, you know, where you want to begin in this next phase of your life, how do you hold yourself accountable? And I think that's such an important question, because I think it's one thing to really see what you want. It's one thing to really manifest that things, but sometimes you got to put that manifestation and you have to put that thought into work. And so what I said, and I also had to have a talk with myself, is that I had to understand that this is going to take work, and I can't just rely on I'm not as grounded as I think that I am, and that I can just wake up and I can just be this thing. That it's going to take work. And I said that in order to hold myself accountable, I need to constantly feed things. I need to constantly consume things that feed my existence. I need to constantly surround myself with things that nourish my spirit, my mind, and my soul. I should never be underserved vibrationally. And so I said that in order to do that, I need to be very careful and thoughtful about the things that I consume visually, physically, mentally, spiritually. That I need to just make a conscious effort to constantly surround, and that can be as far as like reading, immersing myself in information. That's also having a clean media diet. Like, I was already talking to my best friend. I was telling her how, you know, people are always like saying they could just be on social media for hours. And I was always very upset with myself because I was like, I can't. Like, if I'm on social media for too long, I get completely just, all the inferiority complexes hit me, all the negativity hits me, all the anxiety, all my insecurities start to flare up. It's like, girl, I am triggered. And so I realized, even with that, I had to rewrite my inner programming, even with how I interface with that. And I had to realize that I was like, before, I used to just go on social media and just be completely aimless with everything that I was doing. I was just scrolling, not paying attention to anything. And I used to always wonder why I used to feel so negative once I got off. And now, my new social media diet is, first, some days, it might be days, weeks, months, where I'm just like, I just don't want to. Because you know what's more important to me right now is my mental health, my spiritual health. Me finding my center, finding my balance is more important. But when I feel like I'm okay to do it, now I make a conscious effort to anything that I see, I like it. Every person that comes on my timeline, I'm saying something positive, I'm gassing them up, I'm spreading love to them. And when I get to the point where it's like, I'm no longer doing something that's invested in this, I get off. So whether that's 5 minutes, whether that's 15 minutes, whether that's 30 minutes, but the minute it stops being a conscious effort, the minute it stops being something that I'm doing on purpose, I stop and I get off. And so that when I get off now, I feel positive about it. I'm glad that I got to be a part of uplifting somebody that day. I'm happy that I got to laugh with somebody that day. I'm glad that I got to big up somebody that day. And that's the whole other thing about the whole idea of really being able to reduce, overcome, and transcend negativity. It was something else that this is just me kind of going off to other things that I've been seeing lately. And another thing that I've really been seeing is that that I really want to rewrite for myself is that people, and I'm speaking for myself before too, that people are uncomfortable with other people loving themselves out loud. Like, it's so many times where I've seen people really loving themselves out loud, and people are like, why are you doing that? You should be, and it's like, all that person said was an I statement. They said that I was beautiful. I feel good about myself. And no, at no point when I said that I felt that way about myself, did I say that you couldn't, or that I was somehow better than you. And I realized that that's something that I needed to heal from, where it's like, I immediately have this like inferiority complex when I see women, especially, being just so obnoxiously in love with themselves. And I was like, Andrea, you can just do the same. And it's like, girl, when you just have an understanding that you are beautiful, like I said, you were beauty before they even knew what the word meant. You are everything. You are infinite. You are, you know. And so I realized that for me, and I feel like the way that is a better existence for me is that I want other women and I want other people to be in the light with me. And that's another thing that I said about how, or I thought about how to be accountable for myself, is that I really want to be like the sunflower, that it doesn't matter where I'm planted in the world, I always turn towards the light. I always turn towards the things that nourishes me. And it is such a beautiful thing to me to be able to pour into other people and have them pour into me. But basically, it's like, be in the light with me. I can say that I'm beautiful. I can love myself, and it does not take away from anything that you are. And I was like, that's that whole thing about rewriting your inner programming, where you don't even see competition anymore. I don't even know what that word is, and I'm not going to compete with another woman, a black woman. I'm not. Her beauty is my beauty. I am her. She is me. There's enough space for us all to be obnoxiously in love with ourselves. But I really had to think about that. I'm like, I don't know what it is or how it got there, but it's such a stupid thought. It's such a stupid thought to be actually bothered by people loving themselves, by people cherishing their life. I mean, and the thing about America is, like, America feeds off of self-hate. And anybody who has a just overtly and blatant just rejection of that should be celebrated. That should be praised and admired. And even if the times where I don't feel it, I should be able to look at somebody and be like, girl, I want to be in the light with you. I'm going to be in the light with you because you're onto something. You are onto something. And so that's just everything that I'm manifesting, praying for, hoping for, and just asking God to cover me with that acknowledgement, cover me with the ability to honor myself, to be the most authentic version of Andrea and walk in the world different, talk different, be different immediately. So girl, that's my journal. And a praise report is, I've also in this time been really trying to memorize the word to Invictus. And so I've only memorized the first two stanzas, so I'm going to try to recite the first two stanzas. And as you're watching this, read along with me to make sure that I'm doing it right. But I've practiced a lot. So, all right, this is the first two stanzas, so I ain't got that far. But here we go. All right. Out of the night that covers me. Okay, sorry. Okay, here we go. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. Under the full clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. I think that's right. Okay, so the last question for it is just, what do you want for yourself in this next phase of life? And then also, how are you going to hold yourself accountable? So girl, peace, love, and light. I'll see you on the next one.